Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Children, today we are going to begin with our term 2 syllabus, and the first lesson that we will read is Amin and the Gul. This is basically a lesson for the purpose of improvement in your reading fluency, your pronunciation. So listen very carefully to what I am reading, and then later on you can practice reading the same lesson again and again. Is that clear, children? Let's begin. Amin and the Gul. Long ago, a young man called Amin set out from a Persian city to get work. He was so poor that he only had two things to take on his journey. These were a raw egg and a lump of salt. What do you mean by lump? Lump is actually a piece. He had nothing to defend himself with from any of the dangers of the road. He walked all day across a stony plain, and just as it was beginning to get dark, the poor fellow could see an enormous, that is a huge gul coming towards him. A gul is a very unpleasant kind of demon. Demon, some devilish character. This one was very ugly, horrible, and as tall as a tree. There was nothing to hide behind. So Amin decided to walk straight on and try to look as bold as he could. "Where are you going?" shouted the gul in a nasty voice, in a horrible voice. And he put out an arm as thick as a tree trunk to stop Amin. "Well, the fact is," answered Amin, "I'm very strong, and so I thought I would go out into the world to find a gul who's as strong as I am." "Ha!" laughing the enormous gul. "You don't look very strong." "Perhaps not," said Amin, "but then you look so small for a gul." This answer annoyed the gul, for he was very proud of his strength and size. "Nonsense," said he. How lucky that we met," went on Amin. "Now you can see which of us is the stronger." Then before the gul could answer, Amin stooped, that means he bent down, and searching about, picked up a roundish white stone, held it to his ear and shook it. There's liquid inside the stone. I can hear it," he said, as he handed the stone to the gul. While the gul was doing his best to crush the stone in his enormous hand, Amin managed, without his noticing, to get the egg out of his pocket. "It's impossible," said the gul at last. His face was red from squeezing so hard. "Impossible? It's easy," said Amin. "Give it to me." Then there was a cracking sound in Amin's hand, and the gul, peering down, looking down, could see that something was trickling down from between his fingers. The astonished, surprised gul couldn't understand it. "Don't worry," said Amin. "Even if you couldn't manage that, just try again." Once more, Amin stooped down to get a stone. He pretended to look carefully at it. "This one is full of salt," said Amin. "Just crumble it between your fingers." Again, the gul tried hard, but found that he couldn't crush the stone either. While he was trying, Amin got the lump of salt from his pocket and hid it in his hand. How strange, said Amin at last. You can't do the easiest things? Give it to me. So the girl handed him back the stone, and in a moment Amin had crushed his lump of salt against it. I don't believe it's salt, said the girl. Taste it, said Amin. It certainly tastes like salt, said the girl. Doubtfully. He was not sure. Doubtfully. And you certainly do seem to be rather strong. But it's getting so dark that I can't be sure of anything. Come to my cave. We will have supper and we can both try again tomorrow. Of course, Amin did not want to go with the girl, but he had to accept his invitation. They walked a long way, with Amin running to keep up to the girl's cave in some high cliffs. During supper, Amin boasted. That means he was trying to talk high about himself. Amin boasted a good deal and made up stories about how strong he was. But the girl didn't know whether to believe him or not. Then the girl decided that he had to get rid of this young man. When they were both in bed, Amin pretended to go straight to sleep, but really he was listening carefully, waiting until the girl was asleep. Presently, Amin heard him begin to snore. Amin crept out of bed. He found a big sack of rice and dragged it to his bed. He put the bedclothes over it and hid. Just as dawn came, the girl woke up and with a walking stick as big as a tree trunk, crept over to Amin's bed. Feeling sure that Amin was sound asleep, he hit the bed covers as hard as he could. To make quite sure that he would hear no more of Amin, the girl did this 7 times. Well pleased, he went back to his own bed. The girl fell asleep again, and Amin crept out of his hiding place. He pulled away the sack of rice and lay down on the bed. Presently, when he was lighter in the cave, Amin sat up and called out, Forgive me for waking you, dear friend, but there is a little insect banging about in your cave. The girl woke with a start, horrified to find that his visitor was still alive. Amin, he thought, really must be tough if the wax with a heavy stick felt like an insect. Amin's next words frightened the girl still more. That insect gave me 7 little taps. It was as if it wanted to wake me up quite gently. Speechless, the girl sprang out of bed and rushed out of the cave. Amin guessed that the girl would come back, and as you know, he had nothing with which to defend himself. He began looking around the cave to find a weapon. What he found was an old gun and some small bullets. The bullets would have no effect on the thick hide of the girl. However, this was all he would find. So he took it and went and hid outside the cave. Soon Amin saw the girl returning. He was striding along with a huge club in his hand, and by his side trotted a fox. Now, what is a club? It's actually a spade-like structure made of wood, a wooden structure. And when he came back, who was with him? A fox, who walked along. Trotted means to walk. That clever fox will have told the girl the truth, thought Amin. What can I do? Then he thought, these small bullets will be enough for the fox. So he aimed at the fox instead of the girl, and he shouted, Take that, fox, for not obeying my orders. Bang went the gun, and the fox fell down dead. Then Amin came out of his hiding place and said calmly to the astonished gull, I told Sly Fox to bring me 7 gulls to give to the Shah, and he only brings you? What good is that for you? Are my slave already? The gull was frightened and rushed away, crashing through the bushes until he was just a dot on the horizon. He will never come back, said Amin to himself, well pleased. Amin was now free. Happily, he found in the cave treasures that the gull had stolen over the years. Amin took enough to make him rich for the rest of his life. All right, children, now we have read the story about Amin and the gull. See how smart Amin was. He had only 2 things to protect himself, and that was all. So he used his brains and intelligence and tried to get rid of Gull and scared him to death almost, and did all the intelligent things, worked it out in such a way that painted a very strange and a horrible picture of himself in front of the Gull. It's a very interesting story, but something that is important for us. We should read it again and again and enjoy what is in it, and also gives us a moral that common sense and intelligence can save your skin, can save you from lots of troubles.